clean, crisp, and clear. Today we're going to talk about the DD-3 from Boss, which has become one of my favorite delay pedals in the last 6 months after a friend of mine sent me his that was broken and I fixed it and then realized, holy crap, I really like the sound of this thing. So the DD-3 came after the DD-2. So the Boss DD-2 was released in, I think, 1983. They ran that for a few years, some chips changed, who knows, I don't know, whatever. And then in 1986, they released the DD-3. Now this one of mine is from like June of 1992. I looked up the serial number on it. It's got a blue back to it for those collectors out there. I don't know, this one's kind of beat up, but I like it, sounds great. Kind of has the same classic knobs and stuff that you see on all the others. Now, what we're going to do today is we're going to compare it to my Boss DM2 that you might recognize from another video. Here it is. The big advantages of the digital delay, right, is that you get an exact repeat that is different from the analog, which is kind of deteriorates kind of as they go along. You also get much more delay time. This thing has 300 milliseconds maximum. This pedal goes all the way up to 800 milliseconds, plus it has a hold function that we can try out. So enough gabbing, let's get in here and see how they sound. Okay, so before we get into talking about all the things that a DD-3 can do, let's talk about the difference between it and a DM2, all right? Okay, so the classic question, analog or digital? So let's talk about analog limitations, quote unquote, versus digital. So the first thing you'll notice with a DM2 is you don't get a lot of delay time. So let's just crank these both up to their maximum repeat time and then we'll look. So here's the DD2. That's as much delay time as you get. However, if I look at a DD-3, I get this much. So that's the big difference, is delay time. The other difference is the quality of the repeat. So if I use my DM2, listen to just the quality of the repeat. So if I hit it, it kind of starts to fall apart and distort. And then if I try to do a similar delay time on the DD-3, I get and so there you go. The two biggest differences, the amount of delay time that you can get with a DD-3, with a digital delay in general, versus the amount of time you can get from an analog. And a lot of that has to do with just the way it processes the repeats. If you start to get into really long delay times, a lot of times with the analog delays, you start adding some noise and some other things that kind of happen. Modern ones are kind of a lot better at it. The Wazacraft one, which I think is an excellent version of the DM2, and if you're just looking to buy one and do the DM2 thing, go get you one of those. Don't spend the extra money on this vintage one. I've played both. They both sound close enough. Let's talk about this DD-3 and what just makes it so flippin' great. First thing, very simple controls. Now you'll notice it's got 4 knobs where an analog delay only has 3, but these 3 knobs do the same thing as these 3 knobs. So for this one, you have the level, which is how loud the echo is, feedback, how many echoes you get, how many repeats, and then delay time, which is the time between the delays. Now, you'll notice there's this 4th knob, but really all it does is affect this delay time knob. So you can either do short, medium, or long delay sounds, and I'll show you how that works in a second. And then there's a hold, which is kind of neat. So here's the great thing about the DD-3. Let's just put it on the short. We kind of got everything at noon. So it's really short, but it's in there. All right, so now if I go to medium though, that's essentially going to extend this time. Oh, there it is. So the delay time is still really fast. Let's crank it up. I usually like to run on medium with the delay time kind of all the way. So there you go. And like if I just switched this back to short, all of a sudden it's back to that short time. So feedback and level, those stay the same no matter what. This knob really just affects that delay time. Honestly, I keep it at medium a lot because that's where I like it. And then now we'll go to the long time, which is where a digital delay really outpaces an analog, right? If you need long delay times, digital delay is what you want to do. A lot of modern ones have other things to kind of get you the analog sound, but whatever. We're using an old school DD-3, and so you can get these longer sounds. And you're just not going to get that with an analog delay, right? So there you go. And okay, so there's one more thing that this guy does, which is a hold, which basically means I'll hit a note, and then if I hold down on this button, it will hold it. So you can get some really weird, funky, wild stuff. All right, and so that's the hold function. You could do some cool kind of almost loopy type things, but also remember this was back in the 90s, 80s, 90s, so this is a very new thing at the time. All right, and so now another great thing about digital delay is how it handles overdrive. So if I put that on, so yeah, I just threw an SD1 on for a second there. You don't lose any of the clarity when you use this thing. When you're using the analog, I find sometimes it can get a little mushy, but maybe that's what you want. So yeah, I really love the DD-3. It's a great sound. It's a little different than the DM2. I love both. You're asking me to choose between children, and I'm just not going to do it, okay? They both have things that they're really great at. This one's really good at math, and this one's really good at science and art. So don't make me choose, okay? Well, you heard it for yourself. So do you like the digital delay better than the analog delay? You'll have to decide. I think in my other video I talked about the ways I like to use them. I really like this digital delay, especially if I'm running some gain into it. It just handles the repeats better. Plus I can get longer repeats if I want to try some things. And it's just a really great delay. Plus, it just runs off of 9 volts. I don't have to daisy chain it like I have to do my vintage pedals and things like that. So this baby is going on all of my boards. It's definitely going on my small gigging board. So yeah, try them both. You can find these for like $100. I think I got this one off Reverb for that. So I haven't heard the modern ones. I'm sure it's digital, so they probably all sound exactly the same. Don't buy into the snake oil if you don't have to. But if you want an old one and you got the dough, go right ahead. They're not that expensive. All right, thanks again, you guys. Hit the buttons, do the comments. Tell me what your favorite delay pedals are. Delay is my favorite pedal. And then tell me some other things you'd like to compare. I think I've got an old SD1 here and some tumnesses, some choruses. We can just try all the gear. You guys like the gear, I like the gear. Let's talk about it. What do you think? So until next time, take care of yourself, all right?